this story was tagged to me and a few other content creators on Twitter. And I did not know who this guy was up until I read up a little bit about him. But this man's name is John Stryker, and he is a multi-billionaire, and he's the CEO of a particular company. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to wait till I get into the article. And it's ironic that I just did a video about that professor of law at Georgetown, Jill Morrison, about her talking about toxic masculinity at Morehouse College. Now, ironically, I get tagged with this story involving this man, John Stryker, and he's doing something involving with the school that's directly across the street or next door to Morehouse, Spelman. So basically what happened is going on here is this John Stryker guy has donated $2 million to Spelman College to create the first ever queer studies chair at an HBCU. I wonder if he has done this at any other college that's not an HBCU. Because it says the first one at an HBCU, so that means the first time ever. Out of all the HBCUs that are in the establishment, this is the first one, and he went to Spelman. So now you're going to have Morehouse, which is allowing the T class of the Alphabet Academy into their schools next year. And now you're going to have the Q class at the Alphabet Academy going, having a class, ironically, at Spelman. I'm just waiting for the third shoe to drop at Clark Atlanta, because Clark is a triangle right there. Spelman, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta. Let's get into it. Spelman College announced today a matching gift of up to $2 million from billionaire philanthropist John Stryker to create a chair in queer studies, the first position of its kind at a historically black college or university. The chair will be named after the black lesbian poet and activist Audre Lorde. Stryker is the founder and president of the Arcus Foundation, which supports LGBTQ rights and the protection of the great apes. His estimated $3.9 billion fortune stems from Stryker Corp., the medical equipment firm his grandfather founded in 1941. Now, let me just stop right there. If I didn't mention before, and you're not getting the hint now, John Stryker is a part of the Alphabet Academy. And look at what it says. He says medical equipment firm. That's all I need to know. Medical equipment firm that his grandfather founded in 1941. I wonder who they were using that medical equipment on, and what medical equipment indeed were they using. He says he donated in part because the advancements of LGBTQ rights depends on education. The more that people understand queer history and LGBTQ issues, the more likely they are to accept and support the LGBTQ community. You know what's so crazy? This is being pushed at an HBCU where you would think that the majority of the classes outside of the major courses that should be talked about are black studies. It's amazing they can donate all this money to these HBCUs and not one of them have a black studies course, or at least a real one. Stryker told Forbes in an email, by empowering and educating the next generation, we can help make a future where LGBTQ people will have full and equal protections under the law. Translation, they want to take over this shit. That's what it all means. That's what it all boils down to. And the thing is, they put people in a bind where they say, oh, we won't accept it because this, that, and the third. And it could be a legit reason as to why they don't want to accept it. And they'll come back and say, oh, they were being homophobic. But notice that they went and did this at a all women's college where they felt more accepted at. It would have been interesting to see what Spelman would have did if they turned it down. The chair will teach classes in queer studies, allowing students at the all-female Atlanta College to concentrate in the subject as part of its comparative women's studies major and direct community-wide conversation and advocacy around queer issues. Beverly Guy Shetfall, founder-director of Spelman's Women's Research and Resource Center, says Spelman would be the only HBCU in the country with a queer studies program. Now, how about that? They said they would be the only HBCU with this. What it should say, they are the only HBCU for now. Because don't think that this won't trickle down to another school before it ends up at all of them. Now, I wonder, do they have these kinds of studies at PWIs. Not saying that they don't, because there's a lot of PWIs and they just might have some. But notice that they are publicly pushing this one. It says Guy Shefall says a host of factors has stymied efforts to introduce queer studies programs to HBCUs in the past, including religious affiliations, a dearth of faculty with expertise, and occasional alumni resistance. She says she faced similar challenges when she worked to establish the women's studies major at Spelman in the 1980s. There was some angst about how serious or rigorous or faddish it was, or was it going to disappear? There was a lot of anxiety. What can students do with women's studies and queer studies? They do the same thing as they can with a history, English, or philosophy major. The position will build on other initiatives at Spelman related to gender and sexuality. In September 2018, the college received a grant from Andrew W. Mellon Foundation to establish an institute for the study for gender and sexuality. And in 2017, Spelman announced it would admit female identifying students regardless of their gender assignment at birth, and would allow a student who transitions to a man while at Spelman to complete their studies. So that means every year since 2017, something involving the Alphabet Academy has implemented something at that school. 2017, allowing people who identify as trans, whether they are transforming into a quote unquote man or transforming into a quote unquote woman, can go to the school. In 2018, they set up an institute for gender and sexuality studies, and now they're having a class for queer studies. I'm curious to see what they're going to do in 2020. Like I say, when one domino drops, the rest of them topple over. And that's what's happening right now. They are 3 dominoes down with apparently many more to go. And it seems to me that it might be an infinite amount. Those moves have placed Spelman among a growing number of women's colleges redefining their admission policies to include transgender students. Guy Shefall says this environment, in addition to student activism and conversations with the larger community, prompted the Women's Research and Resource Center to seek funding for a queer studies faculty position. They are doing this for money at the end of the day. Like, all of this stuff stems from money. If there was no money involved, I highly doubt they would do half the stuff that they're doing out of the genuine nature of their heart. We were getting more students who were already out in queer, and even parents of those students asking the question, is this a place where my daughter or son can thrive? Guy Shefall says. Parents, the general political climate and activism among queer students and on our campus push colleges and universities to respond to students who were willing to be out. Guy Shefall says the connection between Spelman, Audre Lorde, and Stryker's Arcus Foundation is a natural one. The poet donated her personal papers and articles to the college in her will, and the foundation provided a grant to make the papers publicly accessible in 2009. Lorde's relationship with Spelman dates back to her friendship with the college's first black female president, Johnetta Cole. Lorde's son, Jonathan Rollins, says his mother would have been over the moon about the chair position at Spelman named in her honor. It's very significant because Audre discussed her identity as a black lesbian feminist warrior poet. Well, look at that. She's a black lesbian feminist, or was a lesbian feminist. And no element of that was any more or less important than any other element of it. Queer studies is a relatively new discipline, but has come a long way since Yale University rejected playwright Larry Kramer's offer to donate millions to endow a professorship in gay studies in 1997. There are more than 24 higher education institutions that offer at least classes related to LGBTQ, the Alphabet Academy issues. As a matching gift, Stryker's $2 million is a contingent on Spelman's fundraising efforts. Guy Shefall says it will take about 2 years to raise the sum, meaning the chair will hopefully be hired by 2022. Stryker says he intentionally chose to structure the grant on a matching basis. I firmly believe that there should be a community aspect to giving like this, he told Forbes. By making this gift a matching donation, it ensures that the Spelman College community and network of alumni and donors have a stake in ownership in the queer studies chair. Stryker's sister Rhonda, who sits on Spelman's board of trustees. Hold on. No, I'm not even gonna worry about that. Made the largest gift by a living donor in the college's history when she and her husband gave $30 million to build Spelman's Center for Innovation and the Arts. Well, there you go. Like I said, it's spreading. Where it starts off at one place, it's going to carry over and trickle on down to other places, and it just does not stop. It's a runaway train at this point. And they said the chair probably won't get there until 2022, which means that is about almost 2 years from now. And who knows what'll happen in between that time. Like I said, they had something in 2017. They had something last year in 2018. They just got this in 2019 as a form of an announcement. What's going to happen in 2020? What's going to happen in 2021? Y'all better get ready, ladies. Y'all are up next. I told y'all whatever will happen to the guys, don't think it will just stick there. It's going to fall on to you. I wouldn't be surprised if that toxic femininity thing, they always say toxic femininity isn't a real thing, but I wonder if the women of Spelman College push back against this, would they have labeled them just as that? I said that would be interesting, considering they said toxic femininity isn't real, but they decided to use it on black women first. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.